Hi everyone, welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Mark here with another match preview. Well, not another one for me, but another match preview as Newcastle get ready for another home game. This time 3 p.m. kickoff on Saturday against 19th place Burnley. Newcastle come into the game on the back of that really disappointing result against Spurs in midweek, but also on the back of picking up 7 points from 9 since the return of the international break. So good couple of results this week. Obviously, the game against Burnley, and then heading into the derby the following weekend, can see Newcastle back in that European hunt. At time of recording, they're sitting only 4 points behind Crystal Palace, who's sitting fifth. Obviously, if Manchester United have beaten West Ham by the time this video is released, that gap will be 5 points. But look, it's not that big. We're a third of the way into the season, really. So there's still plenty of time, and I guess with players to come back or to join the party in the shape of Wissa, then there is the possibility that Newcastle will be able to kind of get through some of the trickier times that they've had at the start of the season and really put together a good run of form. But to the game tomorrow, I guess on the face of it, it should be a home banker. Newcastle unbeaten in the last 7 games at home in all competitions, while Burnley have just one win away this season. In fact, I think it's the only time they've avoided defeat this season away from home. But that was against bottom side Wolves. So I mean, we're not to write home about that one. But it is a different Burnley side, I guess, to the one that got promoted to the Premier League last time under Vincent Kompany, where it was sort of pass with no real substance to it. They're trying to play their way out of trouble. Scott Parker, ex-Newcastle, has introduced a much more flexible approach, I think, to the way that his team is set up. His approach tries to kind of balance defensive solidarity, which I guess every promoted side will want to do, with more sort of direct attacking transitions. They've plenty of pace on the counter, especially. They haven't tried to park the bus in games as sometimes is expected from promoted sides, but they have adopted either a 5 at the back or a 4-2-3-1 to try and contain certain games. But again, they play with that element of pace on the break with that forward line of, I guess, 4 that they have that play most of their games. But they have lost their last 5 Premier League games, including a close 1-0 defeat to Palace in midweek, which they probably should have got something from. But they still, again, let's say that they still possess a threat, particularly on the counter. And when they do win the ball and they can break quickly, their pace and movement, especially from that sort of midfield to the attacking line, can cause problems. In terms of their danger players, I guess Zion Fleming has been a standout for them so far this season. He's got 4 goals in 11 Premier League appearances so far. And those 4 goals have come in just 566 minutes. Contrast that with Jadon Anthony, who also has 4 goals this season. He's got those in almost double the number of minutes. So I guess outside of Fleming, they're sort of lacking consistency in sort of a goal-scoring threat. They do have a very good sort of full-back, wing-back, and I'll butcher his name and I apologise for it. It's Quillenchi Hartman. And he can get forward from the left side. He does get forward and will exploit, and he will create chances. He will put crosses in. The flip side of that is his opportunity to get in behind him as well. So Newcastle could look to exploit that too. But in terms of a threat, I guess despite those, they have those flashes of attacking promise. And while they do have, they can cause problems for teams defensively. Recently, especially, they've not been particularly solid. They're conceding too easily and struggle to maintain possession as well. Their average possession this season is just 40%. And I know with football, it's not all about the amount of the football you have, it's what you do with it. But I think for Burnley, they're just not doing either at the moment. They're not keeping possession and they're not doing anything much with it either. And I think they will particularly struggle against a Newcastle side that can really cause them problems high up the pitch. I say they've also not created. I guess they've not created enough chances. They've only created 1.4 big chances, I think, per game. I think got that from SofaScore. They probably relied too heavily on the likes of Fleming and Hartman to create them chances and score them goals. Jaden Anthony as well, like I said, with his 4 goals. They really lack consistent threat. While they have it's not consistent. And if Newcastle can isolate those players, they can isolate the likes of Fleming and stop Hartman getting forward and stop Jaden Anthony being a threat, then Burnley will struggle to create opportunities, and Newcastle can really take advantage of that. And again, the sort of with the Newcastle press, the way that it can be, if Burnley are playing against a quick, physically strong side that is able to press high, is able to push the back, cause them mistakes, particularly push onto that midfield. Again, if they lose possession cheaply and lose possession in high areas, Newcastle can really take advantage of that, get into the game early, and cause Burnley into conceding possession, conceding chances, and conceding goals ultimately. As I said before, again, exploiting the gaps in behind the full-backs with Hartman, who likes to get forward, and also Kyle Walker, who we've seen his defensive frailties in the last few seasons, and while he's looked relatively solid, I guess for Burnley, he really can be exploited. That much forward pace that he once had, that used to get him out of all sorts of problems, it has dwindled. He's not as fast as he used to be. And the likes of Gordon and Barnes and Elanga and Murphy, whoever's playing, I guess, on the wings, and Livramento and Lewis Hall, can really exploit those wide areas, get in behind, overlap, cause their defence so many problems, and create opportunities for the likes of Nick Voldemar and the other wingers and coming in, and the midfielders getting forward as well. And that's something that we probably want to really see this weekend too. In terms of lineups, in looking at Burnley's last away game, because I think that's a better indication of what they will do. They tend to sort of switch formations up home and away. So they set up in a sort of 4-2-3-1 formation in that game against Brentford. They have gone 5 at the back in away games. So against some of the bigger sides, they have tended to go 5 at the back. So we could see that. But against Brentford, they had a familiar face in goal, and Martin Dubravka obviously left in the summer, and he's had a little bit of an up and down season. He has performed really quite well, but again, it's just about conceding the chances and conceding the goals, and not all of those will be obviously his fault. Across the back, they had Kyle Walker, Axel Tuanzebe, Maxime Esteve, and Hartman, who I mentioned before. In front of those 4, Florentino Luis and Josh Cullen, who I think has actually been quite good this season as well. And then the front 4, sort of with Hannibal in sort of that area in between midfield and attack. Shuana, again, I'll probably butcher his names, apologies for him. Lyle Foster and Zan Fleming sort of forming that attacking lineup as well. Tuanzebe does appear to be out of this game. He picked up an injury against Crystal Palace last weekend and missed the game in midweek. So it's likely he won't be starting. I think Hjalmar Ekdal started in his place in midweek in that defeat to Palace. If they do switch to a 5, you could potentially see Joe Worrell come into there. I know he's played a few games as well this season too. And in terms of other missing players for Burnley, I think it's the likes of Connor Roberts, Zeki Amdouni and Jordan Bayer, who I don't think any of them have featured at all this season in any competition. So they do seem to have a pretty much a fully fit squad in terms of what they've had recently anyway. And although there's no other team news at the time recording, I guess you'd expect the front line to remain as it has been, with those 4 that I mentioned earlier. For Newcastle, I mean, the big one, Sandro Tonali is the major doubt, having left the field at halftime against Spurs. Nick Pope remains out, obviously with his injury. That's going to last for a few more weeks yet as well. Johan Visser is getting closer to an introduction into the squad and into the side. I think he's been training with with his teammates this last week, I believe. But I think they're looking at targeting probably the Sunderland game as his return to the squad, but we don't know at the time of recording this. Obviously, Sven Botman, senior specialist over his back problem, he remains a doubt for this weekend as well, and possibly for the next few weeks too. Will Asula is obviously still a doubt as well as he recovers from his ankle injury. And with that in mind, this is the team we've gone for this weekend, and there are a few changes in the spirit of some squad rotation as well, with big games coming up in midweek and especially next weekend as well. So with Pope out, Aaron Ramsdale continue to play in goal. Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall will continue at fullback. They've been excellent since they've both come back into the side, so expect that to continue. And we've rested Dan Burn for this weekend. Obviously, this is just our opinion. What Eddie Howe does is what Eddie Howe does. So we may see the back line remain exactly the same as it was in midweek. We feel that maybe with those games coming up, now is a good time. This is a good game to rest Dan Burn, bring in Fabian Schär alongside Malik Chow. And then going forward, obviously, with Tonali likely to be out, Bruno will come back into the side again after his 45-minute rest in midweek. Lewis Miley to keep his place in midfield, and Jacob Ramsey we've brought in to both give Joe Linton a rest and provide some driving runs from the midfield to really press Burnley, really get at them and push them back, get into the box if Newcastle are going to be exploiting those wide areas to really get into the box and pick up some pieces, perhaps on knockdowns from Big Nick, or even to pick up some of the crosses for himself as well, and really create another attacking threat for Newcastle. Up front, obviously, Big Nick continuing to lead the line. There's no other option really at the moment other than perhaps playing Anthony Gordon through the middle, which we all don't really like. Harvey Barnes to continue down the left-hand side, continue obviously his good form in recent weeks. And with the right-hand side really sort of misfiring as well. We haven't seen much from Anthony Elanga. We've seen really indifferent form from Jacob Murphy too. So we've gone with Anthony Gordon to start down that wing and get him back into the side, get his pace really going in behind the full back as well. And really that side should be more than strong enough to pick up the 3 points at home against a side that shipped 28 goals in 14 games this season. They're not scoring many. I think they scored 14 this season as well. So they're scoring at 1 a game. They're conceding at 2 a game. I know it's easy to kind of say the writing's on the wall for a really good result, but it really should be. The games like this are ones that Newcastle should absolutely be taken by the scruff of the neck and put into bed really, 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 really easily. But it's the Premier League; anything can happen. But we certainly hope that good result is coming. Obviously, taking positives from Tuesday night as well. The first half is what we want to see from the Newcastle side. But obviously, with the addition of clear-cut chances and shots on target, it's really lacking. The intensity of the play for that 45 minutes was there. The passing, the movement, the press was all there. It was all great. Spurs were really, really struggling to contain Newcastle for 45 minutes on Tuesdays. But it was really that cutting edge that was really lacking, and that has to come back. And I just feel that obviously Burnley not at that level, and I think Newcastle can take advantage of that. But Burnley will enter the match with some belief. They've still got those players of being dangerous, and under Parker, they're not just going to necessarily sit deep. However, that said, that their form, their defensive issues, and their reliance on that small element of attacking of their attacking players means they are vulnerable, and Newcastle can really put get the foot on the throat, get a lead, get the foot on the throat, go and score 2, 3, 4, because the the pressure that the Newcastle players can put on opposition, we've seen them do it, but they've not taken advantage of that, and they really need to start kicking that into gear. It's getting into that difficult window in the winter where the games are going to come thick and fast. There's obviously a European game on Wednesday. There's the derby to come next week. You're then going into games against the likes of Chelsea and Manchester United across the Christmas period too. So there's a lot of big football to come over the next few weeks. So they really need to get a good result this weekend, a good result next weekend too, to really set them up. And Newcastle do need to be on the front foot, like I said, not let up the pressure at all during the game. They can't get a goal up and then just stop, as we've seen in other games. They have to continue to not be daft, not be crazy, not be suicidal in their runs forward and leaving gaps and spaces available. But don't let up the pressure on a Burnley side, because they do struggle under those conditions. And like I said, if Newcastle press high, they win the ball high, make Burnley make mistakes and exploit those gaps and exploit those mistakes as well. And if Newcastle are switched on, they play hard. They play more quickly as well. It's not plodding around the field. They try and exploit those wide areas, like I said earlier. It is a game Newcastle should have a strong chance of controlling and winning comfortably. But they want to avoid it becoming a scrappy affair, because that ultimately might suit Burnley. They want to avoid getting sucked too high as well, because obviously Burnley can then have the opportunity of break. But I think for me that if Newcastle do the right things, the players are switched on, they don't stop, they don't let up for huge periods of the game, then I think Newcastle winning 3-0. I think I'm going to go with that as my prediction. It's funny, Chris hasn't given me his prediction this week, which I normally do, but he hasn't. So I'm going with a 3-0 Newcastle win. I just feel that Newcastle have far too much quality on that side to allow Burnley to get into it. A couple of early goals maybe in that score could be more. The crowd up and buzzing too. It could really be a good result on Saturday. But let us know the thoughts. Let us know your thoughts on the game. Even how do you think Eddie Howe will set up for this game? Will he make changes to it and rest some players in view of the games that are coming up against Leverkusen and Sunderland, or will he stick to his tried and trusted as we've seen before? Obviously, get involved in the comments. Give us your score predictions, your lineup predictions as well, how you feel things will go, and any other comments you want to make as well. As always, if you do enjoy our content, please remember to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Obviously, thank you again to everybody who has done that and helped us get over that 12,000 mark. As we said, I think we're going to do the prize draw for the 12,000 subscriber prize after the Sunderland game, to give plenty of people a chance to get involved in that. If you haven't already, go and watch the prize draw video. Chris does detail in there exactly how to enter the competition. So get involved in that and come back and join us after I think after the Sunderland game, we'll do that draw. Obviously, for this weekend, Chris will be back with the instant post-match reaction, probably around 5 p.m. Obviously, after the game's finished, depending on how much injury time there is. Come and join us then. Come and get involved in the chat. And we'll see you all then. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.